spotless podcast, where cleanliness is always next to podliness. Now, here are your hosts, Hannah Brooks Olson and Andrew Walsh.
Today, as we record this, it is Memorial Day, which for many people signifies the transition from spring into summer, because that's sort of how that goes. For me, that means we're transitioning from spring cleaning into summer cleaning, and that's the same thing, I would say, because honestly, I spend summers doing extended spring cleaning type things. Purging, I tend to donate or sell a lot of my clothes during spring and summer. And then, of course, here in the Northwest, we also have new pestilences that are prone in spring and summer. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. How are you, Andrew? What does your spring and summer cleaning look like?
We had some company on Friday after work, and so I kind of cleaned the house. I was thinking I haven't done spring cleaning. And I was like, oh yeah, I did, but it wasn't out of I don't know. It wasn't for the self. It was for the necessity of knowing that people who've never been to our house before were coming over to our house on Friday evening. So I actually took a break from my real work in the middle of the day to just clean up a little bit, which ended up being a 4-hour cleaning session, because I was like, I don't know, they probably won't be going in this room, but if they do, it's gross now. And I think I mentioned to you, we have a sick kitty, so we are temporarily did I talk to you about this? We're a 2 litter box household now, which is really rough.
Yeah, because Bananas needs her privacy and
yeah,
to not be
exactly
harangued by a little kitty.
Yeah, so she's upstairs. She's got her own box up there now, but it's just in this small room that, it's kind of where Genevieve does her crafts, but it's got a TV in there and a couch, and it's a pretty small room. I don't spend a lot of time in it anyway, honestly, because it's usually pretty disheveled, because it's kind of it's Genevieve's sort of chaos room. But now there's also a litter box in there that isn't it's not in a closet, it's not tucked away, it's not out of sight nor out of mind.
It's just chilling. It's just
chilling.
A box full of little crumbly bits.
Yeah, and I clean it up. That one, especially because it's kind of more exposed, I will sometimes even clean it a couple of times a day. If I just see anything in it, I just scoop it right away, right? And so I try to keep it clean, but it's just impossible. It's not covered. Again, it's a temporary situation, so she's kicking the little, as we call them, shit seeds all over the place. She's kicking gravel all over the place. It's not staying in the box. I got to go in there on times when the sick kitty isn't in there so that I don't scare her with the vacuum. But then it also just having an exposed litter box like that, I know you can get lower dust solutions, but it's just kicking dust up everywhere. So you got to kind of you look down at the shelves in there or whatever, the coffee table, and there's just a layer of dust. So I ended up, I was thinking, I haven't done spring cleaning, but I just did it in this sort of whirlwindy, oh no, the guests are going to be here soon. And so I did sort of, I guess, go to town on the house recently.
I mean, motivation is motivation, right? Whether it's guests coming or it's you waking up in the morning and thinking, today's that day, we're doing this. From whatever the motivation is, I think is at least good, especially because, like you said, if you have a sort of consistent situation you have to monitor, like an exposed litter box that does come with a lot of other supplementary issues, right? Like you said, the dust and, whatever else is on the floor. Yeah, I feel like staying on top of that is time consuming and hard on your brain. And so I could see how you wouldn't necessarily want to do a lot of other stuff. But here's a question I have for you, and I'm only asking because I have something sitting in front of me because I just haven't had a chance to put it in its place yet. Does this room with the exposed litter, do you have one of your Febreze plugins or anything in there?
Oh, wow. Huge update on this Febreze situation. This plug-in Febreze situation. I'm going to answer your question, but I have been shocked about something that is a bit of an update of an ongoing drama on this very podcast. So I will try to recap this as quickly as possible. I'm somebody who really does not like the thought of the house having any kind of a natural funk to it, olfactory-wise. feel like there's an easier way to say that. But like, if I go on vacation for a few days and we come back and it sort of smells like our house has animals in it, which it does. It has 2 humans and 2 cats. But like, I don't know if I'm always worried about being nose blind to some of maybe the less pleasant smells of our house. I'm guessing it's not too bad. I've never had anybody say, "Hey, brother, your house stinks." But also people don't talk that way.
I was going to say, but have you ever walked into someone's house and been like, "My friend"?
Right, exactly. I mean, people don't even say my brother anymore, at least not to me. I think somebody called me brother one time, but they were yelling at me because I was throwing something away in the wrong place at the dump. No, you know what that guy yelled at me? He said, "My man." And I was like, oh, my God. Like, it was such a double-edged sword because, like, I kind of liked being called my man. Like, it felt really cool, but I was being reprimanded. And so I felt awful. I was recycling the styrofoam in the wrong bin or something. Anyway, I told you I was going to make this quick. So I kind of secretly, sort of like without telling Genevieve, this was back in September, bought this, like, I don't know if it was Glade, no, it was Febreze plug-in, and I wanted it for the downstairs where we keep our main litter box, right? And not ours, it's the cat's main litter box. I'm going to be very clear about that. And
no judgment. But,
I mean, it's there, it saves water. I was scared that Genevieve, who seems to be much more attuned to fake flowery air freshener scents, she tends not to like that kind of stuff. I was really trying hard to not overwhelm our basement with the smell of this plug-in because I was shocked. I plugged it in and this technology had come a long way since the last time I'd used it, and it was like really strong very quickly. So I told you on this show I was doing this whole thing of like plugging it in a little, like just for short periods of time and then unplugging it, just really, and not telling Genevieve, at first sort of moving it around to different places in the basement and just like really being concerned that Genevieve was going to be like, what is this perfumey smell and how can we make it stop? Well, as far as I know, she never even knew about it. And I was like, okay, it actually got too strong for me at one point. I unplugged it and just put it in one of my little lockers for a while. And then we go to put the litter box upstairs temporarily, as I was just discussing. And Genevieve said we need something to like kind of freshen the air. And I can't remember, I swear she brought it up. She said something, we need a plug-in or something. I'm like, well, funny you should say that. I have a plug-in, and I told her the whole story. I'm like, I haven't told you this, have I yet, Hannah?
No, but you've been like Stanford experimenting in your own home.
Exactly. So I said, actually, Vives, we do have a plug-in, and it's been a whole plot line on Spotless and on how I'm trying to not let you know about it because I thought it was going to be too overwhelming. And I'm like, have you noticed that like the basement, like starting like late last summer, early fall? She's like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, you never. I'm like, I was sure that if I plugged this thing in, you'd be working at your desk and be like, what is that? She's like, nope, I had never smelled it. I had no idea. She's like, let's try it upstairs in this room. So I get it out of the little locker. I give it to her. We plug it in behind the TV. Doesn't matter where, but we did. It was behind the TV. And
actually, that's a good place for it, I feel like. Also, because those, I know
ugly.
I was going to say, they try to make them look not awful, but they're not, they can be kind of unsightly.
Yeah, and the whole thing is just sort of not my vibe necessarily, but it's more my vibe than somebody walking in and smelling any even indication of a litter box, right?
Right.
Or a carpet. You know, we have wall-to-wall carpeting down here, and so I vacuum it a lot, but I think it just captures smells of cats and stuff.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be extreme smells, but just that sort of earthy smell. I don't want it. So we plug it in upstairs, and now it's in this small room that has like kind of an old wood floor. And the reason we need it in there so badly is this room contains smells already. Like, it's not a great place for the litter box. It's a temporary situation, but I feel like it's a small room that has sun coming in through one window, and it can get kind of stuffy in there anyway.
Yeah.
We plug in this air freshener, and I walk away, go downstairs or whatever. I come up later, and the whole upstairs just smells so strongly like this stuff. I'm like,
oh,
Vives,
wow.
this, and she's in there. I'm like, this must be driving you bananas. She's like, no, I don't really smell it. And I think the next day I'm out and about. I come back into the house and I open the door, and it's not terrible, but it's just that really strong sort of, like you and I discussed, sort of suburban air freshery smell. And I open the door, I'm like, my God, I mean, Genevieve, do you smell that? And she's like, no, I still don't notice it. And I think after several days, she's like, oh yeah, that's a little bit strong. We're going to unplug it for a while. But my point of this long-winded story is I went through that entire acclimation process, which means one of two things. Either it worked incredibly well, or
Yes.
I didn't need to do it at all.
Yes.
I don't know which it is.
Right, this idea that you were like sneaking around trying to like introduce this fragrance to your
Yes.
home, and then she appears to be immune to this fragrance
Yes.
altogether.
But is it because of my actions, because of my sneaky little bullshit, that I did acclimate her to it so slowly that she didn't notice? Or was it just not necessary to begin with? I don't know that we'll ever know that. I need a control group now, I guess. I need another Genevieve.
But this is the problem, right? It is hard to know because scent is so, like we've described, scent is so specific and personal, right? And it's so hard to explain what a fragrance smells like to anybody else. Because I was curious also too if you then had moved on to something that was sort of less cloying or like artificial.
Cloying is a good word. Yeah.
Because I know that, especially the sort of default air freshener smells, clean laundry, that sort of appley cinnamon one, right?
This one is literally called linen.
Yeah, right. They always a little bit smell like you're walking into the lobby of an apartment complex or something. And it's almost always to mask something unpleasant. So I think that also just tells your brain it smells bad in here, whether or not you get it.
Yep.
But I was reminded of this because I have on my desk here, I have my Enviro scent little guy that I get from Grove. So this little dude plugs into your outlet, but it's small. It's the size of maybe like a $50. And then you replace the scent cartridge, which is kind of just a little foamy thing that has, I think, the scent on it, and then it sort of cooks out over time.
Yeah.
And I get this peony and wildflower smell, and I'm in love with it. I love it so much.
Oh, I gotta try this. Okay, I'm writing this down. I gotta do this.
I love this smell, especially because this is definitely like it's a very girly scent. But I really like it in my office because it definitely fills the space. I don't find it overwhelming. Keith doesn't love it, but it's my office, so I don't care. And I like going in there when I have that one fragrance that's unlike any other fragrance in the house, because I really feel like I'm here in my office, right? It makes me feel like I am in my space, my workspace. And so I think having that kind of separate fragrance that is not designed for the whole house, it's just for this smaller space is. And
I love that.
This room also has carpet. It has a guest bed in it, so it's got fabric and stuff that can trap scents, and it doesn't smell like, it's not a bad smelling space. It's relatively recently turned from a barren basement into an actual room. But yeah, just the idea of being able to, when I walk into my space and I smell my special office scent, it just delights me. And I really like these. I feel like we've had a couple and they're really not overwhelming. They'll fill a small space, but not. I had one in the living room for a while, and it definitely just sort of added a little bit of nice scent. But yeah, so the Enviro scent ones from Grove are really my jam. And I just got my new one and I need to plug it in. I
got to try that. I'm very excited. I'm going to get a different scent than yours so that we're not, so that I'm not like, kind of biting your rhyme on the scent. But I have a question for you about it. And I'm wondering if you just did something subconsciously, or if that packaging has a special feature. I just saw you scratch the outside of it and then sniff it.
It has a scratch and sniff, yes.
It's actually a scratch and sniff, so that if you were shopping in the store, you could scratch it and then. That is amazing. I haven't scratched. I saw you scratch it and then sniff, and I'm like, is that a holdover from being a kid? I haven't scratched and sniffed a sticker since I was like 6.
Yeah, it has like a little piece of tape on the front of it, and it says scratch and sniff, and so you can kind of try it. And I don't know if they sell they might sell these in some of the sort of crunchier home stores if you have like a refill store where you live or that kind of thing. And specifically, these are so no toxic scent overload, it says, and it says non-toxic and not overwhelming, and also it's pet friendly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and recyclable.
And of course, you brought all this up by talking about how we're kind of slipping into late spring, summertime here, and there's nothing that helps alleviate any kind of sour scents better than opening a window, right? And that's been a real blessing. So that's the nice thing about this room where we have this litter box now, is it is right below a window. So when we first put it up there, it was still pretty rainy and cold on a lot of the days, but now we can leave that window open most of the time, and if I open one or two others on that floor of the house, we can get a little bit of I wouldn't say a breeze, but just I feel better knowing that there's some air moving kind of through the house and carrying things out.
Sometimes just throwing open a window can do so much for your space. I feel like if you are feeling overwhelmed by a mess in your space and you feel like you just can't get on top of it, open the window. Just try that first. Do literally the first thing is just open the window and see if that fresh air blowing in doesn't give you a little bit more sort of motivation to pick up some other stuff, because it really does change like the feeling in a room.
Can I tell you about something that is on my mind on this Memorial Day Monday? That's something that I kind of can't shake, and it's related to our interests. I'm going to take that as a yes. Is
this the thing that is haunting you as you described earlier?
I can't wait. Kind of haunting me.
Great.
So you know that on Sundays I volunteer with this group, and I've been doing this for a year. Every Sunday for like 1 hour, we get together in the old Roosevelt neighborhood. It's not called the old Roosevelt neighborhood. It's my old neighborhood, and I love it, and it's called Roosevelt.
Ye old neighborhood.
Ye old Roosevelt neighborhood. But anyway, I do that like every Sunday, and I'm out there literally almost every Sunday. Maybe I missed 5 a year or something for travel or this or that. But there are other volunteers who kind of come and go. But there's me and my buddy Anna. We're kind of almost there every single week. And my job is always, other people bring food and drop it off, and we hand out food and some other supplies. And I always bring coffee, and during the winter months, hot chocolate. During the summer months, we switch over to lemonade. And when I say summer months, this is the Pacific Northwest, so you really got to keep an eye on the weather. Once I make that switch over, I have to buy different supplies. Obviously, I'm buying lemonade instead of hot chocolate. I use a different thermos kind of system. And so once I make that switch over, I don't want to be ping-ponging back and forth between some days it's hot chocolate, some days it's lemonade.
Oh, but this season is hard. You never know if it's going to be a lemonade day. Some days.
Yes. So
yeah,
we've been doing hot chocolate. Weirdly, even during some of the nice stretches of weather that we've been having, Sundays have still remained pretty chilly, if not drizzly. So hot chocolate it's been this whole time. Now, this last Sunday, which was literally yesterday, I had an obligation, so I couldn't be on site the way I always am. But I still made 4 or 5 pots of coffee, poured them into one of those thermoses that has the pump on top. And I was like, it was a beautiful day yesterday, and I'm like, I'm not going to be here for this, but it is time to switch over to lemonade. So I get my jug of powdered lemonade out, and I mix it up, and I take out the big red and white plastic thermos. I'm going to say it's about 2 gallons. It's the kind that would be on the sidelines at like a soccer event or something like that. You know what I mean? Can you kind of picture it like it's just probably thermos brand plastic?
Yeah, like thermos or like igloo, kind of the almost like a Gatorade container, maybe?
Yeah, like that. Exactly, with a spout on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So you to fill it up, you unscrew the entire big lid, you put a bunch of Gatorade or lemonade or water in there or whatever, ice. You fill it up, you put the lid on, you have to open the little spout so that air can get in there, right? And then there's on top, and then there's a little spout near the bottom of it. And that is our lemonade thing. Now, I hadn't used that in a while. That's been in storage here at my place. And yesterday I broke it out for the first time. since last summer, I guess. And I made a bunch of lemonade, and I hadn't made it in a while, so I just wanted to make sure I had the right amount of powder in there. I also make it with a lot of ice because I think, like, I don't know, I just like that stuff to be, if I'm drinking it personally, I want it to be nice and cold, you know, and I don't want it to be, I've had some people bring in this like kind of lukewarm lemonade, and I'm like, why are we handing out lukewarm lemonade?
No. And also, you know, for the population that you're there serving too, like having something extremely cold is a luxury, right? Like it's a wonderful sensory feeling to not have something that's like tepid.
Yes. Yeah. And so I put a lot of ice in there, but that also means, this is way too much detail, but it also means that I'm pretty dialed in as to how strong I need to make the lemonade at first, because that ice is going to melt a little bit throughout the next hour or two, and so it'll weaken the lemonade a little bit. So I'm pretty specific about making this stuff. And so I mix it all up, the first batch of the year. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to be on site. I'm just like kind of getting all this stuff together. I'm now running late on Sunday morning because I have to drop this stuff off at my friend Anna's house, and then she's going to take it to pop up, and I'm going to rush off to this engagement that we have. And so it's kind of a very busy morning, but I make the lemonade. I stir it up really good. I'm a big man, and I bring this up only because I do something that I don't know if everybody would do, but I take the whole like 2-gallon thermos thing and I just shake it. I'm very careful because I don't want to, because I can see me being clumsy and just like letting go of it, and it's just crashing all over the kitchen. But I kind of
just
grab it carefully.
It through a window.
Yes, exactly. So but I manhandle it and I shake because I don't want you to then use the spout at the bottom of this thing and have like crunchy crystals coming out of it from the lemonade mix, right? So I'm very specific about all of that. So I made it yesterday, put the ice in, water, blah, 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 and then I taste it. I do a little taste test. I open it up. I squirt it through the spout, drink a glass of it. It seems okay. I think it needed a little bit more lemonade powder in there, so I strengthen it. I try it again. Okay, we're good to go. I drop all this stuff at Anna's house. And Anna, I know, listens to some of my podcasts. I'm really hoping she doesn't listen to this one, because I'm going to admit stuff here that I don't want to admit, which is I'm feeling defensive in a way that I don't need to be. And I don't like that I'm feeling defensive here, but I was texting with Anna afterwards. I'm like, how'd it go today? We were chatting about it. And she said, oh, you might want to take a look at the spout on your lemonade thing, because the first couple of glasses or something, when we kind of just, I don't know, you don't pour it out, but when we use the spout to fill up a glass or two, it had some like black flakes in there or something. You might want to clean that out for next time. And now I don't have this. I have to go pick up the supplies. I dropped them off. They're currently in a shed waiting for me to pick them up. But I am so befuddled at the news that there might have been some black flakes in the lemonade. She said we took the lid off the top and we just ladled it out for the rest of the serve.
Oh,
wow. So the lemonade was fine, but it makes us think there's something in the spout. But the thing that I'm confused about is I had 2 glasses of that lemonade in my kitchen.
Right.
I didn't have any black flakes in there at all. I'm also sort of wondering, let's see, I guess I was making coffee. Could it have been just coffee grounds? Worst case scenario, well, worst case scenario is all kinds of things you can let your imagination go wild on. But I'm guessing that this thing has just been in storage in this closet of mine. It could have developed, because it's, it had lemonade in it and moisture. Maybe that moisture did turn to mold or something, that's to me the worst case scenario of things that probably happened.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of trying to think, well, could it have been some coffee grounds that flew in there or something? Because I tried 2 of these, and then also, and this is where I get really defensive, and I don't want any of my colleagues to hear this, I'm also wondering, if I were there on site, I am such a control freak that, I don't, even though I enjoy the occasional Sunday off from this, I also have all my control freak tendencies of just will this go okay? Will people put things back in the right bins afterwards?
Nobody's going to do it the way you do it.
I know. It's insufferable. It's absolutely insufferable. I'm totally like my dad in this way. I just want it done my way. But I'm also kind of I don't know, between some of the people who are both in line, the people we serve, and potentially some of the people that I volunteer with as well, there are people who overreact to things. Sure. And now Anna, and I will say this not just because she's listening, Anna is not an overreactor. And the fact that this was coming from her means that I should take it seriously. I mean, again, she wasn't scolding me. She's like, it was fine. Just make sure it's clean, you know? But I'm just like, yeah, but was it this person who was first in line? And like, I know who the like kind of, not troublemakers are, but the people who like can't let like a little tiny speck go. And we have some people who are on various journeys in their life, and some people are like really, really honed into certain things. And I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of like, who was the first person to see this, and how did they react? And if I were there, was it really ladle out the top necessary, or was it just dump out the first glass necessary?
Did something get on the spout itself, like in transit?
Yeah, could it have been dragged through something?
Yeah, because like those little spouts do sort of hang off. Although when you said it was the first lemonade of the year, I was like, what was our flushing protocol?
I know that. I mean, that's the thing, and that's why I'm feeling defensive, but also not, but also knowing that this is got to be on me. Like, the most likely scenario of all of this is there might have been a tiny bit of residue. The reason I mentioned to you that I don't have this here right now is I'm going to go pick up these supplies and bring them back home, and I think I can fully unscrew that spout from the bottom, and I'm going to examine it like pretty closely, and you'll be able to tell if it's like really janked up in there, or if it was like a tiny little thing and the wrong person saw it, and so then everything went haywire.
It could also be that you didn't get any in the first like glass that you poured for yourself, because maybe it was, you know, if it was very firm, it hadn't had a chance to break down yet.
Yeah.
And then if there was like liquid in the spout for a little while, like in transit and as it was waiting around, and then maybe some stuff sort of sloughed off that you wouldn't have seen at first. And then, but I feel like this
is citric acid, right? I'm just thinking of this now. That's what we use to clean sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I feel like this is actually reminding me that one of my spring into summer cleaning things is airing out all the coolers, because like most of us put coolers away closed because leaving them open would feel weird, but probably we should be storing them open because that way everything can dry out in between uses. And I just know that like the first day that I need a cooler for something, that I'm, you know, taking it to the park or I'm doing whatever, I'm going to open it up, and even if nobody else notices, I will notice, because they just tend to retain smell and crud. And I feel like long before I have any outdoor plans, I need to drag out all of our coolers and hose them out and let them sit in the sun for a while.
Sunshine,
Yeah. Especially because I now have like 3 extra coolers that I got from my grandfather's stuff. And so now man, if you're in the Portland area and you need a cooler,
oh yeah,
come talk to me.
Those are probably cool classic coolers too.
One of them is really neat. It's like mustard yellow, and it's not like a roll top. It's like the top comes all the way off. It has a handle, and the top of it also has 2 cup holders in it.
Yeah,
so it can be a seat, or it can hold things, or it can be an end table. It's great, and it is.
Yes,
it's definitely older than I am. It's probably older than you are, and it is lovely.
Is it smooth to the touch too? You know how almost any cooler these days, I picture it as being plastic and sort of almost pebbly to the touch.
It is.
Is
smooth.
this the kind? This is the smooth kind that almost has a reflective surface, sort of from the 70s. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It looks like somebody was drinking, you know, Coors Lights out of the back of a van at some point, which 100% that is what occured. So it's seen some
and
Coors Lights.
And speaking respectfully about women.
100%, yeah. Just really having great opinions about the fairer sex. So that's one of those things I feel like, and this is like your cautionary tale is everybody else's good reminder that as we get into summertime, things like that, if you're doing stuff like making, because like we'll put out a cooler sometimes too. On the days when it hits like above triple digits, we'll put out a cooler with like boxed water in it for the letter carrier, for the FedEx guys, and just leave it on the porch with a little sign that's like, help yourself because it's hot out there, take care of yourself. And I know that I need to air those things out for several days before I expose them to other people.
Yeah.
And I also know, knowing me, I'm going to forget until the day I need them, and they will be gross.
Can I say that I know what you mean about a bad smell in a cooler if it gets out of hand, but if it's a mild smell, it's one of those smells that isn't necessarily pleasant, but it represents the beginning of summer. There's something like that takes me back to my childhood, that smell of opening a cooler that hasn't been used in a little while. And again, I don't mean like there's mice have had their way with each other in there or something. I just mean like it just smells a little bit like last summer, sort of. It's equivalent of maybe taking out the boxes of maybe like Christmas ornaments. There's nothing specifically piney in there, but it's been pine tree adjacent or whatever. I remember those smells. And then, this is a little bit more of a stretch, but one of my favorite smells is when you open up like a trap. I nobody even uses bar soap anymore. This is going to sound so antiquated, but when I go to the gym, I have like a very old vintage style gym bag, the kind my dad used in like the early 80s because I like the look of it. And I still, like in my DOP kit, I have like one of those plastic little clamshells to keep a bar of soap in to keep it kind of like, separate. Mm-hmm. And there's something about if you use that and you've showered after the gym, you put it back in there, and then you don't use that soap for a long time, you get out of your rhythm of going to the gym or you forget about it or whatever. The next time you open that months or years later and it's like the soap is still in there but it's dry now, and it's like either a stick of that orange stuff or like Irish Spring or something like that, but it's been like dry. It's one of my favorite smells in the world. I don't know why.
That's you've basically created an air freshener in that situation.
Yeah, kind of,
especially with something like Irish Spring that has such a recognizable scent.
Yeah.
And also people do definitely use bar soap. We use bar soap in our house because it's less plastic. And it's inexpensive. So, bar soap I think is making a comeback. Bar shampoo and conditioner is really in right now too for the ladies. Because it's less packaging and you get, kind of more concentrated product. So
there were times like growing up, there were times where I don't know if I was camping with the Boy Scouts or whatever, but there was times where I was like, I can just wash my hair with like a bar of soap, essentially, like just lather up your hands or whatever. But like that wasn't when I had long hair. There was a time when I had very long, thick. You know that, right? I used to have really long.
I've seen a photo
hair.
of your ponytail.
Yeah. Now I have like hardly any hair, but that's fine for that. But I would think like you have especially thick hair and longish hair. Yours is past your shoulders, right? I think it's up now. But
yeah.
So could a bar really work for you? It seems like that would be a lot of labor.
It's a little bit of labor. The cleaning part is easy. The shampooing part is easy. I have not had success with bar conditioner because it doesn't do what I need it to do ever. I've never been able to and you're right. I've stand there in the shower for a really long time and be like,
yeah, just getting it in there, yeah.
Or you're just like swiping it down your head. It just is. So that part is annoying. But
I don't want to get too much into hair talk here because it really gets far afield. But I have to ask a follow-up. When you say that the conditioner that it comes in bar shape doesn't do what you need to do, you mean like later, not during the process of lathering, but you mean like later in the day that it's not doing to your hair whatever you need it to do,
both.
Or it's just not working for you in the moment?
Both. It's really hard to get a bar of conditioner through hair that's very thick.
Yeah.
Like, I have had a conditioner bar and I just feel like I'm in there for a really long time. Because also, like, when I do conditioner in my hair, I'm also usually detangling it. And so you need kind of an amount to get all the way and to, like, comb it and everything. And so I just feel like there's something about the bar that it doesn't emoliate, I guess, well enough.
Interesting.
And I've tried several because obviously also I am trying to reduce my plastic footprint. But some things I just have to have come in plastic.
Yep. Yeah, I was just sort of curious about that because I wasn't sure why the soap would maybe work in bar form but not the conditioner, but it sounds like it does have to do with like the texture of the material itself that you're using, and one might break down a little bit easier.
Yeah, because like the shampoo is more, it usually has some sort of like a whatever they're called, sulfactant. I never remember what that word is. But that's like soap of some sort, right? Like a detergent, or even the ones that don't have a detergent, like they have something that kind of breaks down while you're kind of rubbing it on your head, and that's okay. But then to get it thoroughly through the rest of your hair, the conditioner, which is usually like more heavy on like moisturizing creams and stuff, it just takes forever to get it wet enough, in my experience. But other people might not have this issue.
Hannah, you and I were going over possible topics for the show today, and one of them I think is a little bit too big to break off right now,
Okay.
but I wanted to see if you would take, if you would, I guess, allow this. I thought it might be a good prompt to have listeners reach out to us with their own stories. We'll get more into it next week, but generally speaking, one thing that's sort of on our minds, especially as the weather is getting nicer in most places, is kind of what we'll kindly call curbside reuse, which is like you have an old chest of drawers that you still think has some life in it, but you don't need it anymore. You could hire somebody to take it to the dump. You could take it to the dump yourself. You could try to resell it, or you could just put it out in your driveway or along the curb of the street that you live next to and just see if anybody's going to come and pick that thing up. Now, Genevieve's really big into this. We have had all kinds of experiences, both putting things out at the curb and then also grabbing things. Genevieve is a master at finding treasures along the side of the road and then sometimes refurbishing them. So maybe we can share some of our personal stories on that in an upcoming episode. But it also would be fun to hear from listeners. Like, if nothing else, just like, what are your favorite finds, like roadside finds?
Yes.
And also, have you ever had any like success or notable failure in putting something out on the side of the road? And what is the line for you? Like, you're probably not going to put an old, let's say, pillow out at the side of the road.
I will never forget the person who put a mattress out in front of their house at one point, and then somebody else came along and spray painted or wrote in marker "free bed bugs" on it.
Right? Yeah, I will. I'm not going to tell it now, but I will tell you about. And this happened in the last, probably even a year ago. Here where we live now, somebody took their old mattress and leaned it up against our fence. I will tell you how I handled that. It was not well.
Thing. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was weird that in the middle of the night you were just out there stabbing the mattress.
Yeah.
Like, the mattress didn't ask for that.
I did may be worse, by the way.
I do feel like there are rules too about where you leave things, and I know some of this is definitely like homeowner privilege, because if you live in an apartment, if you don't have a good curb, or you live on a not a very busy street, and so you have to put your things out. But the thing that always kills me is when people do their dumping in like a greenway, a median, a space where it's clearly not in front of anyone's actual home, and there's not a chance that anybody is going to take it, and so then it just becomes like trash. And so I think there's a continuum between curbside, and putting things in sort of communal areas. Like I was saying too, here in Portland, we have something called, or I was saying to you before the show, we have dumpster days where they have basically a big dumpster that's going to the dump. And if you can bring stuff to it, like it'll be in your neighborhood, like at an elementary school or a church parking lot, and you can bring stuff in it and just put it in there so that you don't personally have to go to the dump. Yeah. And I really like this. I've never heard of this anywhere else. And so I also feel like if you're a person who might be putting things on the curb just to get them out of your home, what lengths would you be willing to go to do that in a way that is perhaps less likely to just leave trash out in the world?
So let's talk. Let's try to get our heads around all of that in the next show.
Let's do dump talk.
Let's do dump talk. Because going to the dump is expensive, especially if you don't have conveyance. Like, we had to rent a truck a couple of weekends ago, but we had the ability to do so. But anyway, I want to talk about all of that. But I also I want to hear people's experience on that. But especially, I want to hear people's experience with like kind of curbside. What are your favorite treasures that you found? What are your biggest annoyances? I have a friend who had a toilet put outside of her house for, I think, weeks until the city finally cleaned it up. Actually, this was our friend who lived catty corner to you in Seattle.
There was a toilet. Yes.
That toilet. That's why I'm talking about this toilet. You know this toilet.
I know this toilet.
You were across the street from it.
I had to look at that toilet every day. It was out my front window.
So I'm not making it up.
No,
I told you. I really have a friend, and they had an abandoned toilet on their sidewalk outside their house.
We lived across the street from each other. We did, and that toilet it showed up on the median, like the parking strip, in front, like to the side of her house.
Right. Yes.
On the busy part of the street, because it was a pretty busy street right there. And then the toilet slowly broke down into smaller pieces as people would just like shatter off bits of it. I don't know, in the night because they were going through who knows what.
Sure.
And I just remembered watching the toilet get smaller and smaller.
Oh my God.
It was awful. Oh my gosh, I do remember that. But yeah, like, I mean, if you already had the wherewithal to get a toilet to just a piece of parking strip somewhere in the world, you couldn't take it the extra half a mile to a commercial dumpster behind the Goodwill and leave it there.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally a Goodwill down the block. You could have just left it there.
Put on a face mask, put on your Baltimore Orioles cap, and just
the
find
international costume of illegal dumping.
And find yourself an unlocked dumpster somewhere. But we are going to leave it there for today because we had to do a shorter show for the holiday today. But we wanted to get something out there. But that was a lot of fun. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about the next time we meet.
Yeah, I want to know about how people are cleaning up their summer fun tools. Are you getting ahead of it? Are you doing a cooler clean out? Are you cleaning your igloo spouty boy and your kids' lemonade stand gear?
I'm going to take some photos.
Yes, please do. I would like some video. I'd like some evidence that either exonerates you or convicts you of being secretly gross.
It's got to be secretly gross. I mean, it's Occam's razor, right? It's just like, I don't want to be that guy, and so it's hurt. The truth hurts.
The truth does hurt, but we'll get back to it, and hopefully on our next show we can talk about the dump and how we're all being less disgusting than Andrew Walsh.
That's right. Don't be like me. It's a real goofus and gallant situation here.
Man, I never get to be gallant. This is a big day for me.
It really is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And happy birthday, Hannah, by the way.
Thank you. I did just have my birthday, and now I'm 25 years old.
You made it. You can rent a car. All right, everybody. We have a phone number. We have an email address. There's going to be a old-timey radio guy who's going to tell you how to get in touch with us and tell us all of your stories here in just a second. Hope you have a great Memorial Day. We will talk to you in a couple of weeks.